My old mentor deleted every trace of me from our site while I was in prison, then started selling MY sketches as his brand. When I called him out, he said, "You owe me everything." Now I own everything. I stepped out of the van and into the gray sunlight, the halfway house looming over me like a bad joke. 2 years locked up for something I didn't fully do on my own, and this was my reward, a room that smelled like old bleach and disappointment. My name is Lyra Morgan. I'm 27 and I used to be somebody. Back before the feds raided our studio and turned my life into a cautionary tale. Axel promised he'd help once I got out. Said he'd keep my seat warm at the collective, said I'd still have a place in our digital art crew. I should have known better. The first thing I did after check-in was try to find our old site. Gone. Every gallery we built together erased. The social feeds, the old bio blurbs, even my prison mate's sketch uploads I'd mailed him to archive. Nothing. It was like I'd never existed. I sat on the lumpy twin mattress in my new room, stared at the blank ceiling and told myself maybe it was a glitch. Maybe he'd explain. Maybe he'd hug me or at least look me in the eye. I took the bus to his studio the next day. Same converted loft space in Echo Park. He didn't even look surprised when I walked in. Just nodded once and kept adjusting some massive projection piece on the wall like I wasn't even fresh out of a cell. "Hey," I said, awkwardly shifting by the entrance. I saw the site's different. I didn't see my stuff. He glanced over, handed me a stretched canvas, unpainted. No welcome. No apology. Just a smirk and 5 words. Make your own name. Now. I blinked. What? You've got nothing, he added, stepping back. So prove you can do something without me. I don't remember what I said, if I said anything at all. My face burned, my throat felt tight, and I just nodded like a dam in turn getting feedback. The canvas felt heavy in my hands. Not physically, emotionally. Like he just handed me a shovel and told me to start digging my own grave. I turned and walked out, not looking back. The sidewalk was hot beneath my boots, but I didn't notice. My brain was spinning too fast. He deleted me. He didn't just cut me off, he erased me from our story. Like I never stayed up all night debugging that glitchy VR gallery, like I never designed our launch posters, like I didn't take the fall when our group's stolen software got traced back to my laptop. Back then, I took the charge thinking I owed him. Thinking we were family. But now? Standing alone, holding a blank canvas like some twisted metaphor? Nah. Screw that. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to grovel or ask for a second chance. I walked 3 miles back to the halfway house, my hands still gripping the edges of the canvas, my jaw clenched so hard I could feel my teeth grind. Let him pretend I didn't matter. I'll make sure the world remembers me without him. The studio was technically a storage unit, 120 square feet of cracked cement, rusted pipes, and a single flickering bulb that gave everything a horror movie glow. But it was mine. My name was finally back on a lease, even if it was just a converted corner in an industrial strip outside downtown LA. I found a busted futon on Craigslist and a 3-legged easel someone left next to a dumpster. I painted on cardboard at first, scrap from grocery boxes and moving junk. Black charcoal on brown corrugation. That's what I had. Every Saturday, I dragged my milk crate display to the open-air market near 7th Street. Inmates turned artists weren't exactly a hot commodity, so I played it up. Drawn from the inside, I'd say. Made with hands that used to make trouble. People liked the grit. Most of the time, I'd go home with $5 and a sunburn. Sometimes less. One afternoon, I was sketching this woman, real sharp cheekbones, tired eyes, probably a nurse or maybe someone who used to be, when this girl stopped in front of my crate. Short, quiet. Kind of moved like she wasn't sure she was allowed to exist in public. She looked at the portraits I'd clipped up with binder clips and said, "These don't look like prison drawings." I raised an eyebrow. That a compliment or an accusation? She flushed. "I mean, they're good. You've got, like, depth. Especially the eyes." "Yeah, well, you spend enough time staring at concrete, you start seeing everything different." She laughed softly, then stuck out her hand. "I'm Ada." I didn't expect much from it. People pass through all the time. But she came back the next week, and the week after that. Always wearing those faded Converse and carrying a thermos full of way too sweet coffee. One day she asked, "Why haven't you submitted to Off-Frame?" "What's that?" "It's an underground show in Silver Lake. They spotlight emerging artists. Your stuff would fit." I shrugged. "They're not looking for convicts with cardboard. You should try." So I did. I mailed in my best charcoal portrait, the one I drew after my first night out, the one with the hollow eyes and bandaged fingers. I waited 3 weeks. Then a rejection slip came in the mail. Standard printout. No notes. Just "Thank you for your submission. We are unable to feature your work at this time." I stood over the sink in my studio, lit the letter on fire, and watched the flames curl the edges like a dying leaf. The ash swirled up into the vent. My reflection in the dirty mirror looked like a ghost. One day I muttered, "They'll beg to hang my work." It started with a denim jacket I found draped over the fence behind the scrapyard. Frayed cuffs, busted zipper, paint splatters already marking its past life. I brought it back to the studio, scrubbed it clean in the sink and stared at it for a while like it was a dare. Then I painted a single eye on the back. Big, surreal, with a pupil that melted into a city skyline and lashes like barbed wire. I wasn't sure if it was genius or garbage, but I took a picture and posted it on a burner account I'd set up under Leary Builds. 2 days later someone DM'd, "How much?" I stared at the message for a long time. Then typed, $45. Cash App only. They paid in 5 minutes. It wasn't much, but it was something. Something real. After that, I started digging. Junkyards, thrift bins, flea market piles. Anything with a little wear and no story yet. I cleaned each piece like it mattered, patched them by hand, then painted. Some nights I stayed up till 4 in the morning, painting over stains, turning holes into portals. I didn't just want to sell clothes. I wanted to turn every broken scrap into a middle finger to the people who left me behind. My second jacket went for $75. Then one for $150. By the 3rd month, I was averaging $2,000. That should have felt good. It didn't. Because I was doing everything myself. Designing, painting, packaging, shipping, customer DMs, returns, photos, edits, tax records. Sleep didn't even fit in the schedule anymore. Some nights I'd pass out at my desk, wake up with pain on my face and a stiff neck and think, this is the price. You wanted to prove you didn't need him? This is what it costs. I hit my limit on a Wednesday. I remember it clear. I was hunched over a vest I'd spent 3 days stitching together from scrap patches, painting a swirling black sun across the back. My fingers kept cramping, but I ignored it. Paint smeared across the canvas in uneven streaks. I tried to fix it, but my hand was shaking too much. Then my brush slipped and tore the fabric. I just stared at it, that tiny rip, like it was some final betrayal. My vision blurred. My fingers ached. Blood pooled near the edge of my cuticle where I'd stabbed myself earlier with a needle. And that's when it happened. My body just gave out. I slumped over the table mid-stroke, paint smearing across my forearm, forehead pressed against the sleeve of the jacket like it could absorb my exhaustion. I couldn't even lift my head. My chest heaved like I'd run a marathon. Everything hurt. I need help, I whispered. My voice cracked like it hadn't been used in years. Or I'm going to die doing this. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't a metaphor. It was just the truth. I lay there in the quiet, with nothing but the sound of the pipes above and the city humming in the distance, and finally admitted it. I couldn't build an empire by myself. I was good. But good wasn't enough. Not if I wanted to survive. The next morning I texted Ada. Me, still looking for a job? Ada, is this about your jackets? Me, it's about everything. I need help. She showed up 2 hours later with a backpack, her hair in a messy bun and eyes wide like she'd been waiting for this moment since the day we met. I handed her my password notebook, a sticky note with my shipping login, and a stack of half-finished orders. No contract, she asked. Nope, I said. Just don't screw me. She nodded once, serious. That was the beginning of it. A week later, Ada reorganized my entire process. She set up a Shopify page, created a system for managing requests, and even started writing little bios for the pieces. Painted during a thunderstorm, born from insomnia, stitched while crying. Customers ate it up. 2 weeks after that, she brought in someone else. Bruno, she said, waving toward a guy sketching dragons on the back of a receipt. Tattoo artist. He gets texture. He had calloused hands, sleeve tattoos, and barely said 3 words to me at first. But his designs were wicked. One of his first jackets, an Ouroboros dragon eating a highway, sold for $600 in under 20 minutes. Then came Lana. 17 years old, maybe younger, but already coded a better checkout plugin than I ever could. She hacked the Shopify backend to allow custom bids, upsells, limited drops, all of it. When I asked her how she learned this stuff, she just shrugged and said, YouTube and boredom. We called ourselves Scorching, Ada's idea. She said it sounded like something forged, like it hurt to make. Sales exploded. A niche fashion blog did a feature on underground fashion designers reinventing streetwear. We were second on the list. Overnight, orders went from 20 a week to over 300. One day we made $10,000 before noon. I stared at the screen blinking like it was a mistake. But it wasn't. We were building something. Together. I finally moved out of the storage unit and into a live/work loft. Ada had her own room, Bruno brought his dog, and Lana showed up every other weekend with a new feature and zero warning. We fought sometimes over pricing, over deadlines, over design choices. But it wasn't toxic. It was friction. The kind that meant people actually cared. For the first time in years I wasn't alone. But somewhere out there someone was watching. I didn't see it at first. Just weird little things. An old post reshared from an anonymous burner account. A buyer asking if we were affiliated with another brand called Ashskin. A comment saying, "Love this, reminds me of that ex-con sketchbook." My stomach dropped, because I knew exactly which sketchbook they meant. The one I mailed Axel during my first month locked up. The one I trusted him to keep safe. And now someone was using it. The DM came in at 2:14 a.m. Unknown. Funny what a little fame does. We should talk. I stared at the screen for a full minute. No name. No profile pic. But I didn't need either. It was Axel. I knew the way he typed. That smug little rhythm, the smug spaces before periods. Like his words deserved extra breath. I didn't respond. Just threw my phone on the bed and stared at the ceiling for an hour seething. 3 days later, Bruno stomped into the studio and dropped his phone on the table. Have you seen this? He'd pulled up a site called Ashskin. Minimalist layout, edgy branding and jackets that looked eerily familiar. One had a phoenix spiraling out of a chain-link fence. Another, a stitched-up ribcage painted across a denim vest. I scrolled in silence. One by one I recognized them. Not exact copies but close enough to feel like a slap. These are yours, Bruno said. From your early stuff. Prison era. I know, I said through clenched teeth. He paused. Is this that dude? The mentor? Yeah, I said. It's him. It was worse than theft. These weren't just rip-offs. They were my lowest moments copied without my consent. Stuff I mailed Axel in desperation, hoping he'd keep them safe. Sketches I made on scrap paper while sharing a cell with a woman who screamed in her sleep. And now they were being sold with white backgrounds and slick fonts. Distressed authenticity, the site called it. I couldn't breathe. I marched into his studio 2 days later. Didn't call. Didn't knock. Just walked in with the Ashskin site pulled up on my phone. Axel looked up like I was an annoying delivery driver. Same smug face. Same stupid curated beard. You've got some nerve, I said. He didn't even flinch. Just leaned back in his chair, hands behind his head. Lyra, wow, you've done well for yourself. Don't play dumb. You stole my work. He shrugged. Your old work. Collaborative, remember? I blinked. Are you serious? You gave it to me, he said casually. You mailed it unsolicited. Which legally? I slammed the phone onto his desk. These are prison sketches. You know damn well they weren't part of anything we did together. He leaned forward, smirking. Your talent came from me. You owe me everything. There it was. The real Axel. The one who used people like materials. Who hoarded credit like it was currency. I stared at him for a long second and said, You really think this ends with me backing down? He smiled slow and smug. I think it ends however I decide. I walked out before I said something that would land me back behind bars. But inside I was on fire. He wanted to rewrite history? Fine. But I wasn't the girl who mailed in sketches and hoped to be remembered. Now I was a brand. And I was going to burn his whole knockoff empire to the ground. The letter came in a heavy envelope, thick stock paper, all stamped up and official looking. Ada opened it, thinking it was from a vendor. She skimmed the first page, went pale and handed it to me without a word. Cease and desist. From Axel's lawyers. They were claiming that Scorchink's designs, my designs, were derivative of a collaborative portfolio created prior to Ms. Morgan's incarceration, and therefore legally co-owned by Axel Holden. I read it twice, then a third time. He wasn't just stealing from me. He was trying to erase me. Ada paced behind me, rambling. This is bad, Lyra. I mean, this is really bad. If he pushes this, platforms could pull our listings. Payment processors might suspend us. We could lose. I know what we could lose. A day later, our Instagram ads stopped running. That night, 2 buyers messaged about canceling bulk orders until the situation clears. Word was out. People were scared of being sued just for touching our stuff. By Friday, one of our regular suppliers backed out. Said they couldn't risk entanglement. The fear was spreading like mold. Bruno tried to stay positive. He kept painting and cussing under his breath, calling Axel a fraud with the gallery ego and Etsy morals. But Ada cracked. One morning I found her crying over her laptop, her fingers trembling as she clicked through a spreadsheet. I can't keep it together, she whispered. It's all falling apart. Lana didn't even show up that week. Just vanished. No texts. No code updates. Nothing. I couldn't blame her. She was 17. This wasn't what she signed up for. I locked myself in the back room and stared at a half-painted jacket for hours. My hands wouldn't move. I was paralyzed. Not by fear, by anger. I wanted to scream. I wanted to smash something. But I didn't. Instead, I thought of the rejection letter I'd burned months ago. The cardboard portraits I used to peddle at street fairs. The nights I'd bled into my own work just to prove I existed. That's when I remembered the gallery owner from the off-frame show, the one who emailed me after the rejection to say, if you ever stop being afraid of your own voice, call me. There's a solo show here waiting. At the time, I'd scoffed. But now? Now I wasn't afraid. I dug through my old DMs, found his message, and typed one line. You still mean it? He replied 6 minutes later. Hell yes. What do you have? I attached photos from our last drop, the ones Axel hadn't touched. Then added 2 new pieces I'd been saving, stitched silkscreen prison jumpsuit fragments, one reshaped into an evening gown, the other into a war coat. I called the collection Unforgiven. Because I wasn't sorry. And I wasn't backing down. The night of the show, I didn't dress up. I wore a black hoodie with paint smudges on the cuff and the same beat-up boots I'd walked out of prison in. Let them whisper. Let them wonder if I belonged here. Because I did. The gallery space in Silver Lake was packed by 7. Ada stood near the merch table, hands trembling but steadying with every sale. Bruno skulked by the wall, chain smoking outside between waves of guests. Lana was back too, quiet, focused, managing a tablet that buzzed with live orders from our pop-up site. And in the center of it all, Unforgiven. The showstopper was a deconstructed prison jumpsuit stitched into a flowing, floor-length gown, all hard orange and raw seams, with a sheer overlay that shimmered under gallery lights. I'd spent 4 nights sewing it, replaying every minute of my sentencing in my head. Every lie. Every silence. People stood around it, whispering, snapping photos. Then a fashion editor from Glossier Heat posted one of those photos. Just a caption. Whoever made this turned survival into high art. I'm floored. Within an hour, the post was everywhere. Influencers, art bloggers, streetwear collectors, all sharing the same shot, same caption, same gasp. By the time I stepped outside for air, my phone was vibrating nonstop. Then I saw it, a headline trending on Twitter. Scorching versus Ash Skin, who really owns the fire? The article wasn't just gossip. It was damning. It included side-by-side photos. My prison sketches. Ash Skin knockoffs. And leaked screenshots of Axel's website source code. Metadata showing the originals had been uploaded months earlier on my old burner account. Someone had sent them the files. I had to guess who. An hour later, a local news crew showed up. Then someone from a pro bono artist rights law collective. A woman in a blazer and bright red sneakers handed me a card and said, if you're ready to fight back, we'll take the case. No charge. I looked her dead in the eye. Let's burn him down. The lawsuit landed in Axel's inbox that Monday morning. My counterclaim was airtight. Unauthorized reproduction, commercial exploitation, IP violation, defamation by omission. And the cherry on top? A signed affidavit from a former Ash Skin assistant who had quit 2 weeks earlier and decided, quote, this guy's a parasite with a god complex. We filed for an emergency injunction and won. Every Ash Skin listing was pulled offline within 72 hours. Retailers dropped him. Blogs retracted coverage. Public sentiment flipped. Suddenly, I wasn't the ex-con anymore. I was the artist who got robbed and refused to stay silent. Axel tried to clap back with a cryptic post about the art world being full of ungrateful children. Comments destroyed him. One follower wrote, funny how your collaborative work disappeared the moment Lyra stopped sending sketches. I got a restraining order approved 2 weeks later. A judge read my statement, looked over the screenshots, then glanced at Axel and said, sir, if half of this is true, you're lucky we're not discussing criminal charges. Axel didn't even argue. Just left the courtroom with his jaw clenched and his legacy in shreds. He vanished from the art world after that. No more posts. No gallery shows. No new projects. Just a silent account, abandoned and irrelevant. But Scorching? We surged. Orders tripled. Media outlets called. One brand offered a licensing deal. I turned it down. We didn't need a middleman anymore. I told my story. And this time, the whole damn world listened. 1 year later, the studio didn't smell like rust and turpentine anymore. It smelled like ambition. We had a proper HQ now, an open loft in downtown LA with steel beams, hanging plants, and a mural of a phoenix stitched together from bolts, thread, and ash. Ada ran the ops floor from her desk near the shipping bay. Lana had her own room with blackout curtains and a triple monitor setup. Bruno took over the back wall, designing a custom capsule line that already had collectors fighting over the waitlist. Me? I sat near the front, a coffee-stained sketchbook in my lap and a full team asking, what's next? We just launched a fellowship, Scorch Forward, funding design internships for formerly incarcerated women. I personally interviewed the first round of applicants. One of them, a soft-spoken girl named Maritza, showed me a jumpsuit she'd hand-embroidered during her sentence. When she said I just wanted to feel human, I had to step out of the room for a second. Not because I was overwhelmed. Because I remembered. What it was like to be erased. What it took to claw my way back. We weren't just making clothes anymore. We were making impact. And I was finally building something that couldn't be stolen. That week, I was invited to speak on a panel called Art After Adversity. Big downtown event. Glossy badges. Fancy hors d'oeuvres. I wore a denim blazer I painted myself, black roses blooming from stitched scars. During the Q&A, someone asked, Lyra, what would you say to the people who betrayed you along the way? The room went quiet. I could have said a lot. I could have torched them again. But I didn't need to. I smiled. They taught me everything I never want to be. That line, that one damn sentence, ended up everywhere. People printed it on jackets. Stenciled it on alley walls. One tattoo artist messaged me a photo of it inked across someone's ribcage, signed beneath in block letters, Unforgiven. Some days it still felt surreal. But most days it felt earned. One night, I stayed late after everyone had gone. The loft was quiet. My phone buzzed an unknown number. I didn't answer. Whoever it was, they could wait. I stood near the window, looking out at the city. Neon signs, car horns, music from someone's rooftop speaker 3 blocks down. I'd once felt invisible in this place. Now, my work was walking down every block, carried on people's backs, hanging in storefronts, framed in homes. I wasn't just building a brand. I was building a legacy. Out of fire. Out of betrayal. Out of scraps no one wanted. And I wasn't done yet.